I was 18 years old, I didn't know what the word entrepreneurship meant. It was a word that I'd never come across before, and I didn't grow up in an environment where people talked about starting their own businesses and taking ideas and turning them into things that were real. But in high school, I was best friends with my brother, and my brother started learning how to program. And I was one night looking over his shoulder, looking at his computer, saying, "What are you doing?" He had like this black screen up. I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm coding, I'm building a website. You should learn how, and let's learn, and together we'll build something someday." So in high school, my brother and I worked together and taught ourselves to code. And at the time, I didn't really know, but that was the start of our entrepreneurial journey. So a couple years later, after high school had finished and I had walked across that stage and I got my high school degree, my brother and I again came together and we said, you know, with all of this programming experience, let's take the summer out of high school and let's learn how to build something. Let's take our skills that we've learned programming and let's go build something and just take the summer and do it. And so I said, okay, I can do that. So my brother and I teamed up and we said, you know, we're going to live by this motto and think something and then do it. And we were thinking, we want to build something, so let's go and let's do it. So we went to our parents and we said, this is what we want to do. We've been learning how to program. We want to go build something. And they said, that's awesome. That's great. But if you go and build something, it would be awesome if you also learned how to be financially independent and you went out and you built this thing and you did it on your own with your own money. So my brother and I took all of our life savings and we moved to Los Angeles, California from Scottsdale, Arizona, where we grew up. And in LA, we bunkered down in an apartment and teamed up with a friend of ours who was going to help us build something that we called MySocialCloud, which was an online password vault that allowed people to store usernames and passwords and auto-log into everything with just one username and password. So we lived in LA, and as we were working on building this product, I saw his tweet one day as I was on Twitter, and it was from Sir Richard Branson. And by show of hands, how many people know who Richard Branson is? Okay, so a good number of you. For those of you who don't, he's the guy who founded the Virgin brand, Virgin Records, Virgin Mobile, Virgin Airlines, Virgin Galactic, going to space. And I saw this tweet, and it said, enjoy intimate cocktails in Miami, donate $2,000 to charity, and then gave an email address. And I saw that, and I was like, wow, what an amazing opportunity. So I wrote an email, and I said, okay, I'm not legally old enough to drink cocktails in the United States. I was only 18 at the time. But I would love to come to Miami with my brother and meet you. And so I got an email back later that night, and his secretary was like, yeah, if you can donate $4,000 and be in Miami in 48 hours, you can meet him. My brother and I, though, being these broke, about-to-be college kids, sat down and we said, okay, we don't have $4,000. How are we going to make this happen? So we did the only thing that we could really think of to do at the time, which was call up mom and dad and say, hey guys, really big opportunity, but can we borrow $4,000 to go meet Richard Branson, one of the world's most well-known entrepreneurs, and kind of pitch him our idea? And my dad came back to us and said, you know, being the businessman that he is, write a business plan for me. Why do you need this money? Where is it going? And most importantly, how are you going to pay me back? So my brother and I stayed up all night writing this business plan, submitted it to my dad, got a call in the morning, and he said, you have an option. I'll loan you the money. You have to pay me back in 3 months if you decide to take the loan, or you cannot take the loan. The risk is up to you. I'll let you pick, but this is what I'm offering. And so my brother and I looked at that and we said, you know, sometimes you got to take risks for the things that you want. So we'll loan the money, we'll take it, and we'll go meet Branson. Again, living by this motto of having an idea and then going and doing it. And so we went and we met Branson, and we sat down and we talked to him about our idea, and we said, you know, this is what we're working on. We'd love to get your email address, and we would love to keep you updated on what we're working on. And he said, okay. So we grabbed his email and went back to Los Angeles and finished up our prototype and sent him an email, and we said, this is what we have so far. Could you give us some advice? What are things that we could do better? And he said, this is great so far. Let me introduce you to a friend of mine, Jerry Murdock. And so this guy, Jerry, flew out. He was a venture capitalist from Colorado, and he flew out to LA to meet us just a couple of weeks later, sat down with us, drilled us on our business, and that night took us out to dinner and said, here's the plan. Richard and I like what you guys are doing, and we're going to invest. We're going to invest just, the two of them, just under $1 million in your business, all because of being on Twitter. And as we were closing out that funding round, they brought in a third friend to bump us just over $1 million to start this thing and start our journey into being entrepreneurs. So after we closed our funding round from that tweet, we moved into this apartment in LA and started building the business. And we were moving in here and living in there at the same time, but building the first iteration of what was MySocialCloud. And again, think, do, building a product and just shipping it and trying to get feedback. So that was the first iteration of MySocialCloud that we built, where people could store their URLs and usernames and passwords to things. But even though we had raised this money, I was 18 years old, and my parents said, you need to get a college degree. You need to go on to school. And so I spent 1 year, and I moved to New York City to attend NYU, and lived there for a year, going to school and working on the business. And as I was there, we kept on building the product and iterating and making it better and improving upon things that our users were saying and our customers were saying that we should incorporate into the business. So kept on building it, kept on growing the team. And eventually it got to a point where I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do school and a business. There needs to be a choice. So I moved, I stopped school and I moved from New York back to Los Angeles. And at this point, as you can see, our office grew. We had hired 7 more people at this point. And my brother and I, again, were living out of this apartment through the whole duration of that time in building this business, showing our devotion to it. And we started doing other things, like building out other features that our customers really wanted, one of them being a bookmarking application, which one of the things that we learned about in building this business is that you need to focus. And so our core product was username and password storage. And as we were getting all this feedback, the learning curve was our customers were coming from all over the place, suggesting all different sorts of things. And we spent a lot of engineering time and money building out things that, looking back, we probably shouldn't have built out. So one of the mistakes we made was not focusing, but a good mistake to learn as a first-time entrepreneur. And so I love this quote, which is, failure is success if we learn from it. And so that was the lesson that we learned, is we hadn't really failed because we had learned something from not focusing, from building out these features, though we never wanted to do that again, but we hadn't really failed. And so we took this motto into everything that we did going forward, is if we're failing, at least if we learn something, we will succeed. So we kept building out, and we started building Chrome extensions and Safari extensions for our product to make it better. Again, focusing and taking the requests of our users to enhance our product. And then, as we were getting ready to raise our Series A round, we had a couple acquisition offers, and so we had to make a decision of what we wanted to do in terms of growing this business or selling it. And what we decided to do as a team, the 10 people that the team had grown to, we came together, and Reputation.com, which is a company up in San Francisco, offered us an offer that we couldn't really refuse. And so we decided to get acquired 2 years ago by Reputation.com. And we moved on to Reputation, and we started working there and integrating our product into Reputation.com, working on their consumer data vault, which is something that you guys can surely Google if you're interested in. So we were working at Reputation.com, and I had this idea in my brain that everyone's life is a story. And so I started thinking about, I had this one story of me being an entrepreneur. I had no idea what this word was, and in 2 years, I had kind of lived out what people think an entrepreneurial journey is. So I said, what's going to be the next step in my story? What's the next thing that I want to do? And then while I was at Reputation.com, I was a product marketing manager, and so I was out there doing marketing and started to get into all of our advertising side of the business. And I found out that media was actually a really great opportunity for me. I loved this idea of storytelling, and I loved the internet. And so I moved on to building my next company, which is AdMore, that allows people to easily buy traditional advertising space. And so my story is still continuing, as is all of yours. And so I'll just leave you guys with a quick question and a quote. The question is, what is your story? What is the story that you have? And the quote that I just want to leave you with is, the world is not as it is, the world is as we make it. And so I encourage all of you to go out and make a world that you want to live in. Thank you.